Oh, g'day champions! We're back with that what used to be Mark II Superlead head, and it's now a sort of 2203 Frankenstein X super modded, now somewhat modded amp. If you catch my drift, maybe not. Even I don't some days. If you haven't watched the last video, go back and watch it now. It's okay, I'll wait. Alright, so initially he requested a new rear cover to replace a missing one. And a replacement of the mains lead only, and I suggested bring it in and we'll have a look over the whole thing and just make sure that it's otherwise healthy, and it is not. So I sent a quote for, well, basically the works burger, what I would like done to my amp if it was mine. And what is often the case is, I'll explain, there's some stuff that, you know, you don't have to do right now, but if you want it reliable in the long term, it's a good idea to do so. And there's some stuff where we can stray from the stock circuit to just help the EL34s last a bit longer, particularly if you're running it into a dummy load or an attenuator at, you know, high output. So I sent the quote, and basically everything came back approved. So we're going to clean up all the mains wiring and make that compliant to Australian, New Zealand standards, international standards really, just different color codes, pretty similar earth bonding methods and whatnot. We're going to clean up all the wiring just to arrange everything a bit more neatly and more logically. We're going to replace the shorted choke, being the major issue that we found. We're going to install an IEC connector and supply a lead to suit that instead of the current lead that's installed there. Not a great method. Now, I advise the customer that although the capacitors are still functioning fine, they don't last forever. Now, some people seem to think they do last forever, but they don't. I can tell you that from experience. So I said, look, you got two options. You can either wait for when they do start to play up and we'll replace them, or you can just bite the bullet now, get them all changed out. The amp's not stock anyway, it's been modified. It doesn't really have any serious, you know, museum value to it, so let's just make the thing as functional and reliable as we can in the long term. And he did opt for the recap as well. If you want to keep your caps in until they fail, that's totally up to you, but I leave that choice up to my customer, and I just make it very clear that if they do fail in the future, it's not my responsibility, and they'll be paying whatever labour to replace the caps as well as the part cost. It's just quicker and easier to do it well. We've got it apart on the bench. And there's no magic tone to be had by old caps. If anything, as they degrade, you start to get things like crosstalk, motorboating, oscillation in some areas, hum, ghost notes, that kind of thing, none of which is really pleasant, or at least not to me anyway. I also gave the option, I showed the wiring on the back of the pots and the not great grounding scheme there, so I gave the option to do an optimised ground scheme similar to the other Marshalls that I've shown on this channel. So we'll gloss over that in this one, but I've got some more detailed videos on that recently, as well as links on that video in the description to Lyle's very detailed video, of which I've got no time to dive into if he's already tackled it. I can just refer you to his channel, and he gets views for his hard work, and you give him a thumbs up, don't you? You bloody better anyway, as well as a sub. So we're going to upgrade the screen grid resistors to 2.2K 5 watt just to give the EL34s a fighting chance under higher output when you could have some significant screen grid current happening. It'll just limit that a bit and reduce the chances of a screen grid failure, which seems to be the most common failure mode in EL34s, at least in my experience. Going to install some flyback diodes. It does look like there's been some dramatic shit that's happened in this area that's been cleaned up previously, but a pair of flyback diodes won't hurt anyone, won't change the tone, and it's just a level of safety in case you accidentally forget or accidentally trip over the speaker lead and don't realise it and try to fire it up. You won't be causing all sorts of arc damage within the amp. We're going to disconnect the voltage selector because that does have active accessible by like a guitar string or whatever poking in. You'll be exposed to the active terminal there, which is super unsafe. So we'll just be disconnecting that. We'll be bunching these wires back up, so if you ever did want to put a voltage selector in there again, we can put a safer type in there and reconnect it. I'll just be safely terminating all these leads because they've all got primary voltages on them, and just bunching the cable up out of the way over here. The other thing I will be doing is, instead of having the grounded center tap on the heater, I'll be lifting that and installing an artificial heater balancing circuit there with some half-watt metal film fusible 100 ohm resistors. So if we were going to mod this to be higher gain, either reuse that unused valve over in the corner there or install a FET boost board or something like that, we could create a heater elevation network using some of these unused pads possibly. But in this case, I think with the amount of gain on tap here, even with the boost knob pulled out, once we fix the grounding scheme, I believe the hum levels will be negligible, but we'll find out once we finish it off. Now, I won't show you the manufacture of the back panel because it is a bit of a detailed process in itself, but I will do a dedicated video on making replacement back panels for Marshalls and Fenders, and I'll give you the link in the description of this very video, champions, just down below in the description-y thingy. So go check that out. No electronics at all in that video. A refreshing change in the home workshop, chilling out, getting the woodworking tools out and getting dusty. What better way to spend a Sunday? Alright, as is often the case with these big resto jobs, the best way to start is just start snipping shit left, right and centre, champions. Then you'll have no idea what you're doing later, and you'll be lost and trying to figure out how to reconnect everything. But I've done this once or twice, so we should be fine. I'll just cut that lead off because it's a pain in the ass, dragging us down. Get rid of the screen grid resistors because we know we're not going to use them. I'll get rid of that wire too because that's... I don't like... Well, let's just bloody snip everything, champions. Let's just go for it, eh? Get right into it. Get it right up, yeah. This is a bit where everyone will say, oh, look at him, he's a hack. No, I'm unhacking, champion. Alright. Screen grids to be upgraded, and we're going to have to burn through all that horrible smelling green paint. Mark of the amateur. Tagging all your sacred solder connections with paint, so the next tech has to suffocate when they're trying to rework your work. Right, we can leave in those spray atoms, but I'm going to replace this diode string there with just one diode. I think we can get away with using this bias trim pot since it seemed to work smoothly. It's just got a horrible melt on there, but functionally it's still okay. The choke's coming out, so I'll disconnect that other lead there. That's no good to us. It's going straight in the bin or metal recycling anyway. Oh, here's another one. I didn't spot that before. See down there? Ah, that was some good soldering, wasn't it? Just let go straight away. So don't tack solder, champions. It's dumb. You don't have to. You can do better than that, chick. If you're here watching this channel, you can do better than that. Alright, so not only did they use the green nail polish and whatever it is on all their connections, they also used it on the bolts, so they're going to be a bit of a pain to undo. We'll see how we go. We've got lots of melty stuff here. You know what, I think I'm going to redo all the heater wiring because it's all pretty hideous. So let's just cut all of that because they've just, as you can see over here, they've just thrown the heater wiring just randomly floating around with burns all over the wire. You know what, champions? I think I've got some evidence here. Some more evidence. Look at that. What I thought was like, you know, a marker, like or like the color code, like black and red. That's actually a burn from its neighboring wire. So they would have been twisted, the black and red, like you always see in the Marshalls, twisted together. And there has been a firefight. Name the movie. Name the movie, champions. There was a firefight. The black wire has flamed up, melted itself to the red wire, but they continued to use the red wire and just replaced the black one with a fatter black one. Just random wire they had lying around. Looks like mains lead, actually. So yeah, I think we've had a... Oh, there's my phone. Every time I press record. So yeah, that's interesting. Leaving little clues in for me. But anyway, all that wiring is kind of compromised as a result. It's probably fine to reuse, but when wire gets that hot, it changes its position within the jacket. So it may look okay from the outside, but if you look closely at it, sometimes you can see a bit of copper poking through from the inside. And in this case, I think the black wire is the one that burst into flame. So that probably had a hard short somewhere, enough to deliver enough current to absolutely smoke up the other lead. But let's just redo all the heater wiring, at least up to the preamp valves, just to be safe. Look, the soldering's pretty scabby anyway, so we can clean all that up, and it's probably easier to clean up by removing it all and starting from scratch. Now the next question, which begs to be asked, is are we going to be able to remove these yogurted in jacks? Don't ask me why you do it like that. I guess they were rotating on them, but the best way to do that is use some heavy bus wire and run it through eyelets instead of PCB mounted jacks. But hey, who am I to judge a previous tech's actions? Well, I'm Brad's Guitar Garage. That's who I am. So it looks like the jacks are going to come away from that shmoo. Yeah. So the shmoo wasn't doing anything anyway. Because, you know, all it's done is stick the washers to the back panel. But then the jack was free to rotate on it anyway, probably because there was shmoo sprayed all over it. So, yeah. Things. Yep, that one's just spinning. I didn't even need to get the ratchet on that. The ratchet or the socket. That's a different size nut. Okay. Sure. Why not? Metric? Yeah, metric. Alright, so yeah, that glue didn't really do anything, but I am fortunate that we could remove it. But it's not really serving any purpose, so we might scrape that off. I'll see if some alcohol will shift it. But in the meantime, let's just get rid of this whole arrangement because I want to work underneath it. So yeah, you can see here how much care was given to the heater wiring. Fuck all, that's how much. Look at that, just rolled around. So let's make her the best she can be, champions. Let's be quick smart about it too. Random wire. Yeah, the last piece was heavy gauge black, this one's light gauge red. Just whatever bits and pieces are lying around. I think that plate connection there, don't mind the solder balls floating around. I think that plate connection there is original. It looks like the original wire used for that. Over this side as well. Let's just clear all this up. I just want to redo everything in this area and just neaten everything up. I want it to look like that last 2203 I did, which was very satisfying once it was complete. Right, down here, it's kind of messy, but it looks like it's just been the factory wiring disturbed, so we might be able to massage that back into place, put on some nice music and get out the baby oil. Ah, champions, it's Britney Spears time. Oops, I did it again. I've ripped almost everything out of this that I want gone. Have a go at all the stuff, just not the hardware, but just the dirt and the shmoo and the dust and the crumbs that comes out of your average amp. Often I'll be working on an amp, even a particularly clean one, and you just get like amp droppings, like it's a living creature. You end up with this dust all over the bench and you need to wipe it off, but you can see all the dirt and shmoo in there. So look, I'm starting to have a bit of a philosophical conundrum here. Every one of these amps that comes in, I ask myself, if it was my own amp, how would I treat it? And that's what I end up doing, and that's what a lot of customers end up asking for. If just do what, you can send me a quote, do whatever. Sometimes I don't even want a quote. Do whatever you would do if it was your amp and you wanted it forever. A Bonnie and a Beauty and whatnot. And I'm happy to do that. Maybe that's what I should be. Maybe that's my lot in the world of the amp techery. Because if you don't want that, there's plenty of other guys, as you saw in this amp, plenty of other guys down the road who will just do whatever's stopping the signal flow and then give it back to you with a clean bill of health. There's no shortage of those guys out there, but the guys that go the extra mile, they're getting a bit rarer. So maybe that's what I should focus on. I know it's never going to be the quickest turnaround, but after you're done, it's incredibly satisfying, and the amps are just bulletproof. So I don't know. Maybe that's just, I'm the guy for that. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out life, champions. I'm 40, what am I, 41? I don't think anyone ever figures it out. But anyway, enough philosophical bullshit. What I'm going to do is we're going to clean the Shrek shmoo off those terminals with all the smoke that entails. We'll let the BOFA choke on that. And then, I don't know, maybe I should replace them with just Belton straight up. We're in a ship of Theseus or whatever it is kind of situation again, but maybe I'll clean them up. Just the only thing that worries me is those terminals are pretty flimsy, a bit like the Fender ones that you find, but looks to be a bit higher quality than them. We'll see how they go. We'll throw them in the ultrasonic, clean them up. If they're good, they're good. I'll reuse them. It'll be interesting to see these fasteners, how gross. Everything was covered with like an oil. All these amps, they just have this grime in them, just oily grime. And it's like the whatever they spray on the pots migrates across the chassis and just ends up on every surface, you know. And everything just has this dirty, grimy, greasy, like, ugh. Like the inside of your Weber, you know. So we're going to clean all of that off as best we can. But it'll be interesting to see how they come up. I won't do anything more to them. I'll just throw them in the ultrasonic like that, and we'll see how they come out. It doesn't polish them, but it gets rid of all the dirt and grime, and oils, because it's got like a detergent in there. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. And the pilot light looks like it's already been repaired, dodged up by a previous tech. It's got a lamp floating around in there. You can see the back's been smashed off it, just like your mum. And this silicone holding the whole thing together and holding it in place. So that's shit. We can put a new one on that. And there's like a locating pin there that it is in the wrong orientation, or this amp doesn't need it. So if the new one has one of them, or if there's no notch in the hole, I'll either notch it or just cut it off with a razor blade. Now we've disconnected bloody everything, and I've realised that the output transformer has that green goo coming out of the wire. Yay! Green goo! So we've got a bit of slack on that. I'll cut it back and see if there's any better wire in there, Eddie Vedder wire in there. And I don't think so, though. Once it's there, it's going to be all the way back. So we're going to have to clean it with alcohol and dip it and maybe cut a bit excess off. And yeah, just that plasticizer problem with the copper there. It's always an issue on older amps with PVC wiring. The other thing we've got to do is drill out those rivets and get rid of that mains cable. Well, the mains input, whatever this is, and figure out a way to put a IEC connector on there and clean off all this shmoo without from gaff tape without getting rid of the silk screen. So probably a bit of shellite will do that. But in the meantime, let's get these bits cleaned up and in the ultrasonic, and I'll start cleaning up the chassis, and we can start laying down some heater wiring back where we've removed that burnt stuff.